All right, welcome into the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. We've reached episode 67 here. It is the Cordell Volson episode. It's March 2nd, 2023. We've got some free agency. The NFL Combine is underway. We're going to discuss since, as you could tell, if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, that we are missing one of the three guys. It's Ethan. Not sure where he is at. But I had a joke plan and then I kind of spaced it out, so I don't remember. If I think of it, maybe I'll come back to it of where he was. I think this is his NBA load management episode off. He can only do so many in a row, and he's got just tired and can't do it. Um, and It's March, like I said, March 2nd. So college basketball conference tournaments are set to go underway. The Bison are going to be playing on either Saturday or Sunday. They did get the 3 seed out of the Summit League. But Grant, it's just you and me today. What are we doing? What are we talking about? I kind of said some stuff. Well, what else you got
Well,
in
like
mind?
like you said there, sir. I think we're gonna, as we're kind of in that lull period, we're waiting for college basketball tournaments to get started. But we're gonna talk like what I kind of mentioned. Let's talk a little NFL free agency slash pre-draft. What should the Dallas Cowboys do? What should the Kansas City Chiefs do? And then we each got a list of at least I know I do. I think Dylan does 5 free agents and where we think they might re-sign if their team does not franchise tag them for next year. So at least that's what I got on the dock. So let's get after it.
All right. So now, I know you are a huge combine guy. So have you been glued to your TV watching the combine for the last well, it started tonight, but and been just going at it?
Well, so I actually have NFL Network recorded until the end of time. So what I'm going to do is these next days when it's on, I'm gonna come home. I'm going to watch the combine. I'm going to watch every single workout, and then I'm going to listen to everything Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks have to say, and I'm going to treat it like it's the Holy Bible, and then I'm going to jam it down your throat until was it April 27th when the first round is, and then I'm going to pretend that I know everything about everything. So when they talk about some sixth round pick on day 3, I can say, "Oh, hey, well, remember at the combine how freakishly strong he was, and he went 33 reps at 225." That'll be me. That's how excited I am to watch this.
Okay, I'm holding you to that. I know you were always
Mm-hmm.
a NFL Combine rube back when first met and were living in college together. So I'm definitely going to be holding you to that. I'll probably clip this, and this is what'll be. So everybody, the whole world knows that you are the new Daniel Jeremiah. Or would you rather be like the Todd McShay or Mel
Oh no,
Kiper?
dude, no. ESPN draft coverage is hashtag garbage. Kind of just like ESPN itself. I mean, when Stephen A is your best broadcaster, that's when you have an issue. So definitely NFL Network. NFL Network stand here all the way. Big Daniel Jeremiah guy. Bucky Brooks is great too. But and then also whenever they let Charles Davis do his thing, it's always entertaining. I like those guys. So we're NFL Network or bust. Um, here for the old.
Okay, there it is. All right. Now, did you get to watch any college basketball over the weekend?
I saw Carolina. Carolina beat Virginia. Watched
Okay.
that game on Saturday, and actually was watching a little of Carolina and Florida State right now. I tell you, if this team can continue to shoot the three the way they're doing right now, watch out, folks. This
They have they found a Brady Manic replacement, or
um
is that just kind of been the slow, gradual
well, right now,
build?
kind of
Is trying to find that, because I think that's part of why they've
yeah.
struggled so much. Is I think they missed Brady Manic more than they
Um, I think is
realized.
it is it Peter Nance or something last name Nance, the graduate transfer from Northwestern. He coming into the year,
Okay.
everyone thought he was going to be this year's version of Brady Manic. He's 6'9", long arms, can shoot the three, can guard all 5 positions. He just hasn't been able to somehow lock it down this year. And I think Hubert Davis finally put him in his office last week and said, "Hey, you need to be more aggressive on the offensive end. Get after it." And he did that on Saturday against Virginia. In the first half, he dominated the game on the offensive end, and then took over on the defensive side of the ball. And then tonight, against Florida State, he's playing really well, and they're getting everyone else involved. And like I said, they're starting to shoot the three better. I mean, this year they're shooting 30% as a team. Ooh. Yeah, with R.J. Davis and Caleb Love, that's not acceptable. And Armando Bacot's a walking double-double. He's averaging 17 points a game. He's doing his thing. So if they get these players going around him, and they get Nance going, and Leaky Black's one of the best defenders in the country, and you get that backcourt with R.J. Davis, Caleb Love, and if Puff Johnson can come off the bench, I'm telling you, this team, if they get in the tournament, that's a team you don't want to play. But they got an uphill battle trying to get in this tournament. They got to beat Duke on Saturday, and then probably still win a game or two in the ACC tournament just to get in there. But again, if they beat Duke, they're Carolina, they're a national brand. Sorry, Loyola Chicago. Dick Vitale, you can have a meltdown on TV on Sunday. We're not going to let the Cinderella in. We want the big boys there in the tournament. So go Heels in that aspect.
Did you get to see the Fran McCaffrey stare down?
Thanks to you, yes. That was the best stare down of all time.
I've watched that so many times, and it's just so funny. It's the most Fran McCaffrey thing ever. Just staring.
He knew he needed to get a tech. His team wasn't fired up, so he just goes, you know what? They can't kick me out of this game for just looking at a guy. So he just stared him down, looked into his soul, and that official looked scared. He looked frightened.
He just looked like, I don't know. Like you could tell he was thinking, like, should I give this guy a tech, or do I? I think that's what he wants, so I don't really want to feed into him or let him go. So I'm just gonna stare back at him, and we'll see who steals whose soul. And it turns out Fran stole Tom Izzo's soul.
Dude, you know what's funny is this: Fran after the game goes, "You know what's funny, guys? I wasn't even upset at that official. I was upset at the other one, but if I looked at him, he'd tech me up. So I thought I'd stare this guy down."
Oh, that is good stuff. And now, and Michigan has finally found their way back into the first four out now. I saw today they got 2 wins. They went into Rutgers, into Jersey Mike's Arena, got a win on Thursday, and then Sunday in an overtime win over Wisconsin. And thank you, Hunter Dickinson, for a 40-foot shot to send it into overtime, and Kobe Buffkin, a big game as well. So who knows? Maybe this Final Four prediction of Michigan making it and Carolina making it might still be alive.
Might be speaking this into existence here.
That might be it. I think that's got to be it. It's something. I'm glad to see Michigan actually finally playing well, but like I said in our group chat, is they've got 2 tough games this week. They've got Illinois and Indiana to close out Big Ten play. So who knows what'll happen there? They'll probably lose both of these, and then they're going to need to win the Big Ten tournament to make sure they get in.
Well, but for Michigan's sake, they got of those games coming up. The one you have to win is Illinois, because Indiana's playing some good basketball right now. I mean, they're hot. They just beat Purdue.
They swept Purdue, didn't they?
This year, yeah. Talk about a team falling on hard times. Purdue, my goodness. Right when you think.
Yeah, somehow Michigan's number 2 in the Big Ten right now.
The Big Ten is such a joke right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. I like as much as I've dogged on Michigan this year, and we haven't, just because we haven't talked a lot of college basketball just within the group chat, and all every time, and then you dog them, and then it's like, how are they in the top 5 of the conference? Because I think they got down to 8 at one point, but then they've always kind of floated in that 2 to 5 range, where it's you win this game, you're in 3rd in the Big Ten. You lose, you go all the way down to 10th. It's I don't know where the Big Ten tournament is this year. I don't know if it's in Indy or Chicago or wherever it is.
I think it's in Indy.
Okay, but it's going to be a wild game.
Well, and it's crazy because
wild tournament.
About 2 weeks ago, looking at the standings, it was Purdue, 50 feet of shit in everyone else. Like, to your point, that 2 through 8, they were all like, 9-5 and 8-6 in the conference, all just kind of meshing together, kind of like the Western Conference in the NBA right now, where if you're the 4 seed, you lose 2 games, you're playing in the play-in. These teams are so close with each other, they're just battling each other out. You don't know how it's going to go. Like, to your point, Michigan could have the double bye.
And Northwestern has probably been out after Purdue. It seems like they've been the most consistent team in the Big Ten, which is a crazy statement to say for Northwestern.
Well, 5 years ago, we were celebrating their first win in the tournament ever.
Yeah, first time in the tournament. And win, yeah. But, yeah, we'll see. It'll be an exciting final week. Like I said, NDSU will be playing on Sunday against the Coyotes of South Dakota. And they got 2 wins over the weekend. They beat St. Thomas on Thursday, and then beat Western Illinois at the buzzer on Saturday. Bowden Skunberg hit the game-winning shot. A game where they were up 16 early in the second half, and they let Western come all the way back, take the lead. And it was probably one of the more sadder, depressing, just weird post-game press conference, and then the actual post-game press conference in the media room, where Richmond was just extremely disappointed. You would have, the way he sounded is you thought they just lost by 15. But I think I understand his frustration because they were up 16. It shouldn't have taken a buzzer beater to win. And that's just kind of been the MO of this NDSU team all year, where they're just so inconsistent. You can probably attribute that to youth, but it's also at the same time, it's March, and I think that's part of why Richmond's been so kind of just a negative Nancy in a sense, because he knows what it takes to win in March. The guy's won 3 Summit League titles. He's been to the last 4 Summit League championships games. He knows what it takes, and the effort that they're putting forth, it's not going to be good enough, especially when they go down to Sioux Falls, because if they beat South Dakota, you know who's going to be staring them in the face that Monday night?
South Dakota State.
The Jackrabbits, in which is going to be basically a home game for South Dakota State in a place where South Dakota State has pretty much dominated NDSU, where NDSU's only beaten them 1 time down there, and that was in Richmond's first year as head coach.
Yeah,
and then if they win that game, then they got to go play a team that hasn't lost in Summit League play.
And who's the number 1 seed again? Number 1 team?
Oral Roberts. I really don't think I think it's Oral Roberts tournament to lose.
Well, what didn't they almost get to the Sweet 16 2 years ago? Or they did.
They did.
That's right.
Yeah. Their stud Akesmith is still there, but Bannon's, I think he's used up all his eligibility. He played last year at Texas Tech. But yeah, he's a stud. They've got a really good team around them. And that when they went on that Sweet 16 run, they were beating NDSU by 25 at halftime, and NDSU came all the way back, had a chance to take the lead. Sam Griesel was fouled. The ref didn't call it, and they actually call a foul. Griesel makes his free throws. NDSU is going back for a third straight title for us NCAA tournament.
Well, Oral Roberts, they got all them dudes from Oklahoma City who were neglected by OU and Oklahoma State, and all those Texas schools. So they just go right down the road to Tulsa, and they make the tournament, and they make people look stupid.
Pretty much. And I mean, I will say, if there's a coach that would screw something like this up, I think it would be Paul Mills. Guy just seems like a insufferable short man syndrome asshole. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And this could be Grant Nelson's last time we see him in a Bison uniform. He's getting a lot of draft buzz right now, And if he decides not, it sounds like he's gonna declare after the year, but he doesn't know if he's gonna. He'll go through the draft process, the combine, all
We'll
that
do the
stuff.
whole.
But it's also another thing too that you got to worry about now is the transfer portal, because with his
True.
skill set that he has, I mean, there's plenty of Big Ten teams just drooling at looking at him and thinking, well, we could do a lot
Well,
with
yeah.
him.
I mean, what would make a school like Wisconsin or Michigan State or Iowa from plucking him and saying, "Hey, come here and play in the Big Boy Conference and get some more national notoriety." If especially if you go through the draft process and they say, "Hey, this is what you need to work on," X, Y, and Z. And if you come out right now, you're going to be drafted in the second round or undrafted. Why not go to a Power 5 school and play these against the big boys? Work on those three skill sets, and who knows, maybe sneak into the early second round or the late first round as a transfer.
And he technically would have 2 years of eligibility because his freshman year was that 2021 COVID year where their eligibility didn't count. So that's also another intriguing thing for him. And I don't know where he is graduation wise, but growing up in from North Dakota, probably could have had dual credits that transferred in to where he could graduate after 3 years. And it sucks too. It's just it is what it is. It's the nature of college sports right
Yeah.
now. But if somehow he stays at NDSU next year, they are by far and away the favorites in the Summit League to make it to the big dance. Because they don't graduate anybody. They have no seniors on the roster.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And I mean, looking at who they have coming back, it's a very talented roster. Even if Nelson leaves, I don't think that would I think if he were to leave, probably not the favorite, but still up there and definitely going to be able to compete. But that game is Sunday because they're the 3, so they don't get that day off in between. But maybe we record on Wednesday next week, so that way we can recap the Summit League Championship and hopefully celebrating a Bison win, Bison big dance appearance again.
I'm down for whatever, because the Summit's always what, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
So it's actually so everybody goes down to Sioux Falls this year. Mm-hmm. So it actually starts Friday. There's playing games Friday. The top 2 teams play Saturday, and then they get to bye those 2 teams. Whoever wins from the Saturday games, and then Sunday it's the 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5 matchups. Tuesday semifinals.
Okay.
Monday semis. Tuesday championship.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting.
And another cool thing is that I believe the NDSU women actually will be playing in the women's NIT this year because they got finished second in the Summit League, and they aren't beating South Dakota State. They are extremely talented, and I don't see anyone coming within 20 points of them.
Well, you got to.
But it is cool to see because the Bison women, who in the 90s were one of the best teams in Division II women's basketball, and it's actually pretty cool because the second best team in women's Division II during the 90s was UND. Both teams were battling for national titles, and it's cool to see the NDSU women back who have been down since they've made the jump to Division I. And this is by far the best season that they've had in years, like damn near 20 years.
Well, I was going to say, because when we were on campus, Dylan, no one gave any respect to that women's program. They were almost kind of the laughing stock of the athletic department.
Yeah,
they just couldn't do anything right.
No, they just missed on a couple of coaches, couldn't get new recruits, and good to see them finally finding ways to turn it around. But there's still a lot of work to be done because South Dakota State's still the class of the summit for the women, and it's going to take a lot. Because they're South Dakota State's consistently nationally ranked. They won the women's NIT last year, and they just got to find ways to keep building and getting up to that. Try to get up to that point, which I think in the long run, I mean, you could almost say that like you take NDSU football and SDSU football, when the best team in your division is competing at the national level like South Dakota State is, that's going to raise your level of competition and raise your level of competitiveness to where you have to be. And who knows, you could surpass a lot of those other teams to get there if you can find a way to get on that South Dakota State level.
No question about it.
So that's our basketball talk, I think. I don't know. Do you have any other basketball talk you want to do? Is Carolina still winning? I saw they were up 11?
Yeah.
Oh, now it's 7. It just said.
When I turned it off, they were up 16. It was 18 at halftime. Florida State got it down to 11. Carolina got it back up to 16. It feels like they're just going to be kind of going back and forth where they consistently have that double-digit lead unless they decide to fall flat on their face. And if they lose to a 9-20 Florida State team, this season's over. They're going to have to win the ACC to make the dance and get that automatic bid.
Yeah, it looks like they're up 8 with 27 seconds left.
Yeah,
so we can sharpie this one in. We got to get used to saying UNC Sharpie.
Well, and
for the for
this year's tournament's going to be weird, dude, because there's like 8 to 12 good teams. There's no elite teams, and there's no teams that I really trust.
No, I would probably agree with you, especially like Alabama is good, but all the mess that they have going on there, who knows what's going to happen with that situation? We don't have to get into that, but like, I mean, in the end of the day, like with the way that tournament is, as much as like appealing as like the upset could be, you almost just want to go with the blue bloods, go with the guys you trust. The Kansas I think even Kentucky's a pretty solid team this year,
and they're playing better as of late. Unfortunately, Duke has been playing better. They're getting a little more comfortable with their freshmen and Shire. UCLA is going to be up there. Houston, I don't know if Houston can score enough points. That's always going to be their Achilles heel. And then Baylor, they're so hot and cold this year. Like when they're on, they're maybe the best team in college basketball, but when they're off, they look like they're going to lose in the round of 64. So I don't know. It should be an exciting tournament, and teams that started good but are now fading hot, which we can always never trust, being Tennessee and Purdue. Stay away from those teams with a Sharpie. I learned that last year the hard way, thanks to Michigan for taking out my national champs in the second round.
Darn right. And then I can't remember who you just said that was playing well, and now
Kentucky's playing well, Duke's playing well. Kansas is playing good, but Kansas doesn't have a big guy. But also, there are really not many bigs in college basketball this year besides Armando Bacot and Ziti at Purdue. But they have no team around him.
Yeah, but because we had Arkansas, they're not even ranked.
Nope.
They have 10 losses. And I'm like completely, or like a Texas who had to fire their coach. UCLA, yes, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, and they bring back experience too, which is huge in March. It's when you look at the last however many national champions, it always comes down to point guard play, and usually the team with the most experienced backcourt finds ways to win.
Because really, this trend where freshmen on your teams for college basketball has only produced 2 champions in the last 10 years. And the last one was Duke,
Yeah.
in the spring of 2015. Besides that, it's been, to your point, grown men and seniors and, strong guard play.
And Mick Cronin's a hell of a
Yes, he
coach.
is.
A guy that not many people at UCLA fans wanted. They were jeering that hire left and right. And he's come in and he's made UCLA about as relevant as they've been since Kevin Love was there.
Yeah, I mean, they're a top 10 team. They finally won their regular season in the Pac-12 for the first time in like 10 years. This past weekend, they have a lot of talent returning, and with that, they have a lot of tournament experience. Gonzaga 2 years ago in the Final Four, you lose last year in the Sweet 16, a close game to Carolina. They've been there, done that. They're not going to feel the pressure of the highs and the lows of a tournament game, like a lot of these other teams are with a bunch of young players are. Like, with Alabama, like you said, Braden Miller, he's only a freshman. He's got some other things going on his way. What happens, when he gets into a big moment and he starts to think a lot? We don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll find out for sure indeed as that gets closer. But we'll go over to talk some football here, talk some NFL free agency because this was actually Grant's idea, which was a great idea by him because as March Madness approaches, there's going to be that's going to consume most of our time. So we wanted to get out in front of it, discuss some potential free agents, discuss what we would like to see the Cowboys and Chiefs do. And I suppose Grant, since it was your idea, we'll start with the Chiefs. Now, is Pat Mahomes, is he going to be a cap casualty at all, or do you think they bring him back? It's the burning question in Kansas City right now.
I kind of hope they let him go. I mean, he's taking up $45 million in cap space. It's
because his contract kicks in this year this year.
I think it was last year. Yeah, because last year was his 6th season. So the start of the 2022 regular season, game 1 in State Farm Stadium was the first year of his new deal. So this will be year 2 in the new contract. So if you're wondering, they have a quarterback paid and locked up for the next 10 years, which is nice because every other team is in the NFL, Philadelphia, Los Angeles Chargers, and the Cincinnati Bengals, and maybe the Baltimore Ravens if the Ravens want to pay Lamar Jackson, or if Lamar Jackson thinks he's worth a fully guaranteed contract, they're going to have to pay their quarterbacks. But Kansas City has theirs locked in already, and the salary cap is only going to go up each year with the new TV deal coming. So that's nice in that aspect. But to your point, like I said, I'll start. And, as we say this, guys, this is before the franchise tag deadline. So everything we say right now is us being hypothetical, thinking, hey, this guy, if he were to hit the open market or if a team were to tag him, but that could change because I could say this about someone and then guess what? In 10 days, his team says, hey, tag, you're not going anywhere. But I will start this discussion with the franchise tag. And I think number one thing for the Chiefs in the offseason is Mr. Orlando Brown Jr.
Ooh, I'm intrigued because I feel like that really he is someone that really divides the Chiefs fan base. There's 50% that want him back. There's 50% that said, get him the hell out of here. He's worthless. He's not good. We can do better. Where do you stand on that? Or do you think he's a franchise tag possibility?
I think.
Or do you want him?
No, I want to keep him.
Okay.
We're keeping him. This is Orlando Brown Jr. Stan account. I think since his time in Kansas City in 2021, I think he's only given up like a total of 6 sacks in 2 seasons. And that includes the goose egg that he helped put up, in the Super Bowl this year. And also the fact that, the Chiefs, they gave up a first-round pick for him from Baltimore before the 2021 season. And him and Joe Thuney have some good chemistry. going for him. I would like for Orlando to maybe lose a little weight because he does have a problem with the speed rush, where sometimes if some guys get a good get off, they're just going to blow right past him. So maybe trim down a little bit so you can handle that speed rush there. But left tackle, right tackle, it doesn't matter anymore. If you have someone who can help protect and keep your quarterback upright, and a player who I think only gave up 2 pressures in the Super Bowl this year on 38 pass blocking attempts. You got to keep Orlando Brown Jr. around, and he's only 26 years old. He's young, and let's not forget he got in the building and he told Andy Reid to draft Creed Humphrey because they played together at Oklahoma that year in 2017. Lincoln Riley's best year at Oklahoma, which was Bob Stoops' team. But when you're part of an offensive line like that, I think you got to keep Orlando. So do everything you can to try to get a deal done with him. And if you can't, tag, you're it. But guess what? We're going to negotiate this long-term deal until July 15th, whenever that deadline is.
I
Yeah,
think
and
so.
so I'm doing everything in my power I can to lock Orlando Brown Jr. up.
Okay, what because I believe Andrew Wiley is also a
Yes,
free agent as
yes,
well.
sir.
Do you think they're going to be able to work out a deal with him, or do you
So
think that's something where they can go the draft or free agency
I think
route?
they might go draft or free agency on that, but also, in my opinion, I think they have a couple players on this roster who they like and they think they can fill in that void. And the reason why I think you let Andrew go is then you can allocate more of that money to Orlando. They drafted Darius Kennard this past April, a right tackle out of Kentucky. He played left tackle for the Wildcats. He was a 5th-round pick. They really like him. And then a player they really like, who was the original starting tackle in 2021 before he got hurt, is Georges Niang. He's a big 6'6" tackle out of TCU. He was actually drafted in 2020, but he didn't play in the NFL that year with COVID because he does have a bad case of asthma, and he was worried, for his health and well-being there. But when he's been healthy, he's been the guy at right tackle that they really like. So I think you let Andrew go because there will be a team, who knows, maybe a team like the Chicago Bears who needs offensive line help, or even in San Francisco, if Mike McGlinchey is if he goes somewhere else, the Niners, they say, you know what, let's get a proven guy in the NFL and Andrew Wiley. So I think the Chiefs let Wiley go so you can allocate more of that money towards Orlando Brown Jr. because they got a couple guys on their roster they like already that can fill in at right tackle. And then you bring back essentially the same offensive line 3 years in a row and a team that gave up a goose egg in terms of sacks in the Super Bowl.
That was because of the field, though. It wasn't talent.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I saw slip a couple of times, but then, he only fell because Andrew threw his ass into the dirt. And have we found the Eagles' defensive line yet, or is Phoenix
Still
still missing?
missing. Still missing.
Okay.
Have not found them yet. Have not spotted them. But outside of Orlando Brown and Wiley are the two other ones, but they lose a handful of free agents that are handful of receivers that are free agents this year. Juju only signed a 1-year deal. Mecole Hardman is at the end of his rookie deal. Justin Watson's a free agent. So where do you think they stand with that? Do you think they're able to work out some long-term deals with any of those three? I think if you have to pick one, I think they try to re-sign Mecole Hardman, who's been there and had success. His biggest downfall has been injuries, can't stay healthy, but when he's been on the field, he's been productive and he's been one of Mahomes' favorite targets, especially this year since Tyreek Hill was gone. He was kind of that speed burn the field guy.
And a big guy in the red zone. But actually, I'm gonna disagree with you on this one. Personally, I think I would have agreed keep Mecole, but who was the game changer in the Super Bowl this year? Who did they trade for midseason? Kadarius Toney. And they drafted Sky Moore, and then also just to maybe allocate some of this money somewhere else. I think they're going to let Mecole walk and go somewhere else and get his opportunity on a 1-year deal like Juju got. And I think they're gonna re-sign Juju. I think it's not gonna be
Okay.
crazy. I think it might be like a 3-year deal, kind of like what MVS got this offseason. They're gonna bring him.
And he's also, I heard too, that's a potential cap casualty was
Okay.
MVS.
That I did not know that he was a
Because I think if they cut him, I think they would be saving about 11 million
that
in cap space,
he
which
was a
would it would help sign Orlando
mm-hmm.
Brown.
And then maybe if you do that, then maybe you can talk with McColl and bring him back. Because MVS signed that 3-year deal going into last season. But well, I'm just going to play the game that I know as of right now and say MVS will be on the team because the Chiefs have over $25 million in cap space. They're not like the New Orleans Saints or the Vikings who are in a spot where it's like, oh shoot, we have no money, we can't do this. So I think, kind of back to the receivers, I think they're going to let McColl walk because he'll want to get an opportunity somewhere else, and I think they're going to bring Juju back because he was big in the Super Bowl this year, and when they needed him against Tennessee, he was big. And him and Patrick, they kind of got a nice little chemistry going. And he's the possession receiver this offense needs. You got a young fast guy in Sky Moore in the slot, Kadarius Toney, and then something tells me they might be able to get a veterans minimum with Justin Watson to bring him back on like a 1-year deal. So with the receiver room, I think McColl walks, you re-sign Juju, you keep MVS, you still have Travis, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, Justin Watson, and let's not forget in this receiver room, Dylan, they had Justin Ross, from Clemson as an undrafted rookie. He broke his foot in training camp last year. He's going to come back. So there's a possible speedster they have at their arsenal. He would have been a first-round pick had it not been for that weird, neck surgery and neck injury he had at Clemson. So he's a player to keep an eye on too, and if he can stay healthy, because I read last year he was impressing people in training camp a lot. So they're
Yeah, and I know when we were when we had the when we were kind of recapping the draft, we talked about like some undrafted guys, and I don't know if we ever talked about it on the podcast, but I know you and I were texting back and forth like, of course he goes to the Chiefs, and he was the best receiver on those Clemson teams when he was there. I think he was part of Trevor Lawrence's recruiting class, and it's unfortunate because the guy just could never stay on the field.
Yep, exactly.
And unfortunately, it's come up again in the NFL. But who knows? Maybe this year he finds a way to stay on the field, and he's another weapon for Pat Mahomes and just tortures the NFL and the rest of us.
Yep. And then kind of something along those lines. We'll switch now for me to the defensive side of the football. A free agent, he's a 4-year safety who started a lot of games this year. I think who they're going to let him walk is Juan Thornhill. And I say that because, when we recap the draft, I mentioned this player here, Brian Cook, that safety from Cincinnati. He had some downs this year, but, boy, did he have some ups. And he showed some real potential to be a really good player in this league, and he played a lot in the playoffs. I think he can slide in and be your strong safety next to Justin Reed. And then also, guess what? You let Juan walk. You have another guy on a rookie deal. Second round pick, not a whole lot on your cap space. That gives you more flexibility to, sign some of these veterans. Orlando Brown, if you want to rework MVS's deal, maybe bring McColl back with that. So I think in that secondary, you let Juan go. He's 2-time Super Bowl champion. Let him go somewhere else, get his flowers, be a starter, and you have Brian Cook be a safety there. And I think that's going to happen because Brett Veach drafted Cook in the second round for a reason. For these decisions here, and then another move on the defensive side of the ball is getting someone else on the interior next to Chris Jones. A big body guy you can have on first and second down. They're 2 Super Bowl runs. They've brought in guys late in the year, and they've been big. But if you could have someone there consistently all year to kind of protect Chris Jones and anchor your middle of your defense, Because if you're looking at the middle of this defense, you got Chris Jones, Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, and Leo Chanel, that rookie from Wisconsin, played really well last year. Towards the end of the year, you bring back, Frank Clark, George Karlaftis. This was the eighth ranked rush defense in the NFL last year. And look what they did to Miles Sanders in the Super Bowl. The Bengals, Joe Mixon, Samaje Perine in the AFC Championship game, Josh Jacobs in the last game of the regular season. The rush defense wasn't an issue for this team. But if you could bring in a big body in the middle who can stop the run, that only, helps your defense out. So much more. So, and then it just also helps protect your young linebackers so they can make more plays. And then another side on the defensive ball, this is just maybe paying someone in the future, is working on a contract extension for L'Jarius Sneed. How great was he? This year I think he had 4 or 5 sacks, almost led the team in forced fumbles. He can play the slot. He can play the outside corner. He's just a Swiss Army knife. He's so versatile. He's coming into year 4 on his rookie deal, and they got to try to work on, locking him down. Because if he has another year like he did this year, next season, he's going to be one of the highest paid corners in the NFL just because he can do so much. And then lastly, This is just me wishing here, if they can bring back Jet McKinnon.
I was going to ask about him, is because I know it sounds like they aren't picking up Edwards-Helaire's 5th-year contract. I wouldn't be surprised if they just cut him either, because he hasn't been very good and he hasn't been healthy. And with Pacheco and Jet McKinnon in the backfield, that's a solid running core. And Andy Reid doesn't like running the ball, but with those two, they're effective running the ball. They can get 5-6 yards a pop and make the safeties come up a little bit to respect where they have to honor them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And when they've gotten those guys involved in the running game this year, when they've rushed for over 30 times a game or over 120 yards, they were undefeated. And then, what Jet does in the passing game, not only catching balls, but also being Pat's personal protector. You see a blitzing linebacker, he's not afraid to put his helmet right in between his teeth and knock him on his ass. And then with just how violent Pacheco runs and how hard he runs, it kind of gives this team an edge. For some reason, Clyde Edwards-Helaire just doesn't have it. He doesn't run with that power. He did once this year in Tampa Bay, and look how great that turned out. But he doesn't have it in him for some reason to do it through a whole season. So who knows? They might try to find a trade partner for him and get like a 5th round pick in return, or a 6th that'll turn into a conditional 5th based on stuff. He could be an August trade. So bring back Jet McKinnon on offense, and it should be good to go.
Yeah. And I think I lost my train. Oh, what do you want him to do with Carlos Dunlap? Do you think he is he's playing in a different uniform next year?
I think so. I think this was just kind of a 1-year deal. Hey, let's bring in a veteran to help rush the passer when Frank Clark, was suspended for those couple games with his gun charge. And that's another thing I wouldn't mind if they did is add help on the defensive line, because like I said, Dylan, the secondary, they're set. They're bringing everyone back. Those three linebackers, and then also Harris, number 47, they're set. But I would like it if they would add a veteran in the middle, because as you know, defensive line is one of the hardest positions to play in the NFL. Sign a veteran who can play inside next to Chris Jones, because he is a man. He's going to be at least 26 years old. He's got that man strength. He knows what it's like to play. There's not as much of an adjustment period in the middle. And then in the first round, if they could, maybe draft a defensive end, an edge rusher. Because, Frank Clark's coming into the last year of his contract. Karlaftis had a good end of the year as a rookie. But, can he step up in a year 2? So maybe in the draft, if they could get a young edge rusher, I would like that a lot.
Okay. And then what do you how do you think the Chiefs are going to be able to handle losing Bieniemy as the OC? And
I think as an offense as a whole, I think they're going to be fine. One thing that'll be interesting to see is check that running back room out, because he's been the running backs coach for the last 10 years, and how many good running backs have they had come up when their starters have been hurt? Jamal Charles tears an ACL. You have Charvarius Ward, Spencer Ware from LSU, Damian Williams, Jet McKinnon has a second life in Kansas City. Isaiah Pacheco, a 7th round rookie, comes up. These are good running backs who had a nice career in Kansas City. So I'll be intrigued to see how that running back room is affected now that Eric is gone, because he's not working with him on a daily basis. But in terms of the offense as a whole, when you have Andy, designing plays, and then Matt Nagy just having, I think, an understanding of an NFL offense. Who knows? His time in Chicago may have worked had he not had Mitch Trubisky throwing him the ball. I mean, if he had a different quarterback, maybe a lot of those plays work, or this Bears offense is able to get going. So I think they'll be fine there. And they bring back same tight ends coach, same offensive line coach, and the offensive line coach kind of helps design some run plays when they do decide to run it. So as a whole on the offense, I'm feeling good. But that running back room will be interesting to see how they play next year with a new voice in there for the first time in 10 years.
okay, all righty. Well, that's the Chiefs talk. I suppose let's go over to the Cowboys, my team. And big thing for them is what they're going to do with Zeke and do with that running back room. Tony Pollard set to be a free agent. I would expect them to give him the franchise tag, because it's not. I think it's only like $13 million. Zeke, if he wants to be a part of the Cowboys, he's going to have to take a significant pay cut, which might work out in his favor, because I don't know if you saw the reports, Grant, that were out earlier this week, that a lot of the top scouts in the NFL don't think the only way he plays next year is on a league minimum contract. Ooh. Because his legs are done, which is unfortunate, because when they paid him, I thought they were going to utilize him a lot different than just having him run the ball. I thought if you're going to pay a running back, you need to use him out of the passing game, something that he has shown that he's able to do early on in his career, but then Kellen Moore takes over and they just don't utilize him in the pass game at all. And so if Zeke comes back, great. I think everybody knows that Pollard is the feature back of the offense, the featured player in the offense. And hopefully he's able to recover from his injury that he had in the San Francisco game. And then I would like to see him draft a third running back, or sign somebody like a Jet McKinnon who can come in and pass protect, similar to what Zeke is. But that's kind of what I'd like to see in the running back room, is Pollard as the feature guy. Zeke, use him in certain situations where I'd like to almost see him where they just alternate possessions. And then as the game wears on, kind of just go ride the hot hand. Yep. And then on the offensive line, I know Connor McGovern's a free agent. Terrence Steele, he's coming off an injury, so we'll see how he does there. Tyler Smith has shown some bright spots. I would like to see him improve more in pass protection, which he was a rookie last year. I think another year in the weight room, another year in the system, I think you're going to see some good progression there in that. Dallas has proven to be knock it out of the park with drafting offensive linemen. So I trust Jerry and Steven and Will McClay in that aspect. So maybe draft somebody in that second, third round. I think I remember hearing that this is a fairly deep offensive line class. I'd like them to also add more depth on the D-line. As you watch the Eagles, I mean, they were just rotating guys out. And a good pass rush is always going to – I would take a good pass rush over a good secondary, because if you're consistently able to get to the quarterback, and it's going to make those corners look a lot better because the quarterback doesn't have as much time to throw the ball. And which just is a good segue over is, I think their first round pick, it has to be a cornerback. Trevon Diggs is coming into the last year of his contract. I think they're going to find a way to re-sign him. Hopefully they get that done this year. And after that, Anthony Brown's set to be a free agent. Jordan Lewis is coming off an injury and also could possibly be a cap casualty, a cut, which would be unfortunate. He's one of my favorite players on the Cowboys, and going back to his time at Michigan, just a lockdown, solid. Still don't think I've been watching him play for, 10 years now, because he's the same age as me. I don't think I've ever seen him miss a tackle. And after those three, I don't trust who they have on that roster. Nahshon Wright isn't a starting cornerback in the NFL, and I don't even know some of the names they have on that in the cornerback room. And then I'd like to see him re-sign Leighton Vander Esch. I think he had his best year since his rookie year last year. He was able to, for the most part, stay healthy. He missed a couple of games late in the season, but he had a really good playoffs. And I think in the Dan Quinn system, I think Dan does a good job of utilizing his strengths and really showcasing what he's able to do. And he's the one that's making all your calls and checks on the defense. And he's the unquestionable leader. And hopefully a guy like Micah Parsons can take the next step. DeMarcus Lawrence as well, build off what he did last year, because I was thinking he was going to get cut after this year. I thought he was done. He was washed up, but he played really well this year, which was good to see. And then back to the offense is they need to add a third receiver. CD's established himself as the number one go-to guy, and well-deserved. Also somebody they're going to have to pay in the upcoming year. I think this year they can pick up his fifth-year option, which they will do. Michael Gallup is someone that I want to see that will be more effective, more efficient, more consistent. He was coming off an ACL, so maybe that was part of it. He's going to have an full off season to work with Dak and develop that chemistry again. But after that, they don't really have anyone. Noah Brown is a good receiver, but he's not consistent enough to be a third receiver. A couple of years ago, they had Cedric Wilson, who was a solid third receiver for him. And to his credit, he was so good. He went and got himself paid down in Miami. I would like to see Dallas. I think that's another potential first round pick to look at, is drafting a receiver depending on the value of who's there, or getting somebody in the second or third round, because the guys they took last year just has not panned out. And then there's questions at tight ends. It sounds like Dalton Schultz is not coming back. They've got two really nice young tight ends in Jake Ferguson and Peyton Hendershot. They're young, and they were more used as blocking tight ends. We'll see if they can be more catching the ball. But I would like to see him go out and try to get a catching tight end, like a guy like a Mike Gesicki or somebody like that can go find ways and get open and be that red zone threat where Dak can rely on. That's always going to be open.
No, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you, man. I mean, this Dallas team, they seem so close, but sometimes in the same way, so far away. But if you have a good offseason, you bring in the right pieces, they could make some noise in the NFC East again. I mean, they were only 2 games away this year, a game away from winning it this year. Oh. Oh. I just can't hear you, unfortunately. Oh, hey, there you go. He's back.
Okay. What the heck? Maybe what happened is my mixer like disconnected. I had it on Bluetooth, and then all of a sudden it just no. It says it's connected.
Hmm.
What the heck? Um, can you hear
I
me?
sure can.
Okay. So I don't know what happened there. So, but anyways, back to you what you were saying because it cut out, so I was not able to hear you.
It seems like Dallas is so close, but sometimes they feel like yet they're so far away at the same time. Um, and with that, when you mentioned McGovern as a free agent on the offensive line, are you looking to maybe add a guard center, a guard and a tackle? What up front? How many pieces are you maybe looking for them to add?
I'm thinking more so at the guard, the left guard
Mm-hmm.
spot, with McGovern being a free agent. I like Biotish at center. Um, Zach Martin at right guard. He's the best guard in the
Mm-hmm.
NFL. Terrence Steele, we'll see. They did sign Jason Peters. Maybe they can get him cheap. I think Tyron Smith is still also on the roster as well, but he's really can only play about 10 games a
Yep.
year.
And then also, to your point, Dylan, I think Dallas's biggest need, maybe not their biggest need, but is to your point that third wide receiver, or maybe even a second wide receiver, because can you trust Michael Gallup? CeeDee Lamb is the guy, but you got to think with Mike McCarthy taking over calling plays, he might want to go back to kind of what worked for him in Green Bay, where you're getting, two receivers, three receivers, and a tight end involved, and you're throwing the ball all over the field. So I think you're right. I think they're going to be aggressive in trying to, add that third receiver and get more weapons for Dak in this offseason because, like we said this year, Dak needs more around him. So, why not try to add another veteran playmaker who can help take the top off your defense and open up plays for CD?
Yep. Yeah. I think this is going to be. I think it's the right step. I never thought I would say this, but I think Mike McCarthy going back to calling plays. I think that could be the difference. Got that big play sheet. Hope now we can finally utilize it. Hopefully they have a little bit more where design. There's a little bit more. It's less vanilla in a sense where Kellen Moore was great the first 15 plays, but you never saw him
Mm-hmm.
adjust after that. He was just out there calling plays. He never adjusted to what the defense was doing or when they were changing up. He, he never did anything to change. They just would run plays and hope it worked.
Yep.
I think I think with Mike calling the plays, I think there's going to be a little bit more creativity, and I think he's going to do a better job of adjusting in the game within the game.
Well, they'll run an offense actually,
Yes,
and not
exactly.
just plays.
So hopefully he learned from his time in Green Bay, but there's definite reasons for optimism with the Cowboys, and you know, hopefully they can stay healthy and get over that hump that's been looming over them for so long of not being able to get to an NFC Championship game.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a 2-horse race between them and the Eagles, and there hasn't been consecutive division winners since I don't even know when.
God,
but
it's been a long time.
So it had to be like 05, 06 probably, or back when the Eagles were having their long runs.
Yeah,
But
it would have been right around that time, like you said, 04, 05, 06, somewhere in there.
and I think I'm not even like winning the division is nice where you get that home game, but Dallas, I mean, last year they went and beat Tampa in Tampa, which Tampa was not very good. But I mean, Tony Pollard doesn't get hurt. Who knows how different that game is? Maybe Dallas finds a way to come out with a win. I think they have the player, the talent, and I think they've finally figured out the style to play with. They have a really strong defense, and they have a good running game where they can take the crowd out of it on the road and play that complementary football where the defense is going to travel.
Yep.
And as long as they avoid the ugly turnovers that have haunted them, they'll have a shot to win.
For sure. Yep. No.
So let's go and do some free agents. I just wrote a handful of them down. I really don't. Everything we predict is going to be completely wrong, probably, but oh well. It's still fun.
Yeah, and like you said, there might be some guys who get franchise tagged and not allowed to hit the open market. But as of right now, no one has been tagged, so everyone's free to go wherever they so choose.
So
well, if you want, Dylan, I can go first. I will tell you the first player I have because I just got 5.
Okay, I wrote down a handful just so we don't, in case we don't take them. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, the first free agent I had in the ideal landing spot, I think for him was Javon Hargrave from Philadelphia, and he's going to find for me a new home in Chicago.
Okay.
The Bears they need help up front. They have a lot of cap space. Matt Eberflus wants to rush 4 and play 7 in zone. You need those big bodies up front. He had a great year in Philadelphia. He can be a stalwart up front. And that just, like I said with the Chiefs, it gives the opportunity for Bears to get someone in the middle who's not a 21-year-old kid, who's been an adult and played great in this league. And I think the Bears could use him. And selfishly, do I wish that Hargrave and Chris Jones would be paired together? Absolutely. But do I think that can be financially done? I don't think so. So I'll say Javon Hargrave to the Chicago Bears.
All right. Okay. I will. I'll start with. I'll put. I got Jimmy Garoppolo.
Okay.
And he's not coming back to San Francisco. I think he can go to a roster, go to a team that's ready to compete in the playoff. That's a playoff ready now, win now mode.
Yep.
All reports, he's a great locker room guy, gets along with everybody. Players love being around him. I think he goes. I think he goes to Carolina.
Okay.
And I think with that defense, I think they play that style of play that he's used to, where it's a run first, play action offense. They want to play complementary football, really showcase the defense. And with the hiring of Frank Reich, I think that really they'll be a good marriage together. And as long as Jimmy G can avoid the turnover, that might put Carolina as the favorite to win a wide open NFC South.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. But number 2 for me, I got the Buffalo Bills helping out Josh Allen. They need a running game.
Ooh.
This player just has to go from New Jersey to New York. I'm going to go Saquon Barkley to Buffalo Bills.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's a blockbuster move right there.
Yep. The Bills know that Josh Allen, if he's their main focus on offense and he's running the ball too much, Josh Allen's going to take a pounding. He's not going to last in this league. They need to get him some help. I still think the Bills have an issue up front on their offensive line, but Saquon did a whole lot this year with the Giants' offensive line that wasn't good. And then in Buffalo, you let him, help Josh Allen out, but then also you help this passing game when you're able to do maybe a little more play action, get Josh Allen out on the edge where he's a dual threat with his legs.
And you Saquon catching the ball
the ball out of the backfield. We saw it in person. That could be a cosmic shift in the AFC. So I'll say Saquon to the Buffalo Bills.
Ooh, that is juicy right
Mm-hmm.
there. So for me, I'm gonna go down to Nashville, and I got former Wolverine Taylor Lewan. I think he goes to a team. They have a guy going into his second year, had some good success. They're playing in a tough division. I think Taylor Lewan goes and signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Ah,
They
yes.
need they need offensive line
Yep.
help. I think the way Kenny Pickett plays, and he's a little bit of a smaller quarterback. He's going to take hits. I don't think his body can absorb it as well as some of those other quarterbacks.
Yep.
You get a left tackle who he's been injured the last couple of years, but when he's healthy, he is a top 5 tackle in the NFL. And I think the Steelers get him, go out and protect their biggest asset now.
I like it. I like it a lot, sir. So this next player I'm gonna go with is Jamel Dean from Tampa Bay, and the Minnesota Vikings need help at corner. You bring in Brian Flores. He's an aggressive-minded coach. He's going to bring some pressure. He's going to play a lot of man coverage, just like what Jamel played in Tampa Bay with Todd Bowles. You're on an island. Patrick Peterson's a free agent. Cam Dantzler, we don't know about him. Andrew Booth, he was hurt last year. I just don't know, what the Vikings have there at corner, and I think this is a big need. And instead of drafting a rookie again, they're going to go out and get a veteran who's played in an aggressive defense like this. So I'm going to say Jamel Dean goes from Tampa Bay to Minnesota.
Ooh, okay. Okay. And I have, let's see here. I'm going to go with Cincinnati Bengals. Their safety, Jesse Bates, who's been the leader of that defense. I think him and Cincinnati work out a deal, and I think he finds a way to stay in Cincinnati. I know they've got some other big decisions coming up. I know they're going to have to pay Joe Burrow, but I think Joe Burrow, quarterback of the offense, Jesse Bates, quarterback of the defense. I think they lock him up for the next 5-6 years.
That's spicy because the reports are that people think Cincinnati's going to let him walk. So that is spicy, though, if Cincinnati could figure it out and keep him there. And then, so Dylan, right here, I'm going to give your Dallas Cowboys some help at a position that I talked about at wide receiver 3. And what was once mine is now yours, and McCole Hardman.
Ooh. Oh, okay. I would approve of that.
And I say that because in this aspect, McCole, he's kind of a skinnier version of a Randall Cobb. He can play in the slot. He's that fast guy. He's a one-on-one matchup nightmare. And then also, let's say something doesn't work out with Dallas and Zeke's not on the team anymore. With what McCole can do on those jet options, he can score a lot in the red zone for Dallas, and I think that's going to help free up CeeDee to really get those one-on-one matchups and take advantage of the short underneath routes if McCole is going deep and taking the top off the defense. And I think he's going to have something to prove. And, he'll be going to, a good quarterback in Dak, not a Pat Mahomes, but he won't be taking a total nosedive from his old person getting the ball. So I'm going to say McCole goes to Dallas, and he acts as that number 2, number 3, but that slot receiver in Mike McCarthy's offense.
Okay. I like that. I'm a fan of it. So my next one is I'm going to stay in the AFC West. I'm going to go out to Vegas, where Josh Jacobs is set to be a free agent, and I think he goes to Baltimore.
Oh,
I think they're going to. Yes, I think Baltimore has struggled keeping running backs healthy the last few years.
Yep.
And it's really hindered Lamar Jackson's success, along with them unable to find receivers. I think they go out, they get Josh Jacobs, they can utilize catching the ball out of the backfield. He is consistent. He has not had injury concerns compared to the Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins that they have on the roster now. And I think that gives them that consistent every down back that Baltimore needs.
Yeah, Josh has been a horse since he was at Alabama. Like you said, he just doesn't get hurt. But lastly, we're going to stick with another Alabama player. But I'm going to go this guy. He's going from Washington to the Houston Texans in Daron Payne. And
Ooh,
Houston
okay.
has a bunch of cap space, and they have issues all across this roster. D'Amico Ryans gets a big guy he can put in the middle to go up against the league's worst rush defense last year. And then if you think, like I said twice earlier tonight, you get a grown man, an adult who's played in this league in the middle of your defense where you don't have to draft a rookie who might struggle to start with that. Houston still has the second pick in the 12th pick. So if you could take a Bryce Young, or you could double down and get another defensive lineman if you want. But I think getting a big established leader in the middle in Houston is big for D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah, the J.J. Watt type. He's not J.J. Watt, but similar to that guy that can lead the defense. Guys follow, who's had a solid career in Washington.
Yep.
I'm glad he's out of the NFC East. Hopefully the Texans listen to you, Grant. And my next one is, and this is our last one, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Derek Carr. I think he is reunited with the head coach that drafted him. I think he goes down to New Orleans. I know they tried to trade for him. He waived it because that way, by waiving him, is he can work out a deal, a more team-friendly deal where they can go out and sign some free agents. So
yes.
I think Derek Carr goes and plays for New Orleans next year.
And in a division that's wide open, if you can have probably the best quarterback in the division, it gives you a leg up on trying to win the NFC South next year.
Yes, it does. And I suppose let's just throw one in for fun. And I think this is where Ethan is actually. I think he's similar to what Aaron Rodgers just came out of. I think Ethan's in a darkness retreat right now. I don't know if that's. I think that's kind of what he meant. He did mention something. I know he is a huge Aaron Rodgers fan, and he's a closet Aaron Rodgers fan. It's not very out in the open because he is a Vikings fan, but he loves Aaron Rodgers, so he wanted to honor him and did a darkness retreat. So now that Aaron is out of his darkness retreat, where do you think he ends up next year?
That's good. Where does Aaron end up next year?
The favorite, right? The last I saw, and this was a week ago, so odds may have changed, but right now the favorite was the Raiders.
I don't know if the Raiders are going to be able to take on that contract with Devontae's deal and Max Crosby. Just because I want to see how Aaron reacts in this city with this media, I'm going to go the New York Jets, where he's back with Nathaniel Hackett, who he said was his guy. Maybe Aaron also didn't like him and wanted him out of Green Bay and pumped him up and almost sabotaged him for his time in Denver. But I'll go the New York Jets.
Okay. You know what? I think I would probably agree with you. I think he also goes to the Jets, gets to play with his old coach. And I thought about saying the Niners, but I think they want to try to go with Trey Lance or Brock Purdy, but Brock Purdy will be out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't think he comes back to Green Bay, but we've said that about the last three off seasons, and he still finds his way back to Green Bay. But another one too is maybe he goes to the Bears. He has said that he owns the city of Chicago.
That is true.
And that way they could go and draft somebody. They move on from Justin Fields, they shore up that defense, find some receivers, running backs. But maybe that's something. Probably not, but I think that would kind of be
Boy,
funny.
wouldn't that be a storyline? Wouldn't there be some talking?
That would be like Brett Favre going to the
Yeah, wouldn't
Vikings.
there be some talking points if that were to happen?
Oh, for the sake of this show, I hope it happens.
Absolutely.
But all right, well, that's I think that's all we got for NFL talk. You got anything else? Is there any other free agents you want to discuss?
I think it's going to be an interesting year for the quarterbacks.
Yeah, well, I would agree because Lamar Jackson is someone to keep an eye on. I think he's going to be kind of the domino that puts things in motion.
Can I be honest and give my opinion? My take on that situation.
Yeah,
It's not going to be a story.
What we have this show for.
It's not going to be a story because Baltimore is going to say, "Tag, you're it. You're not going anywhere." I think they're going to tell Lamar, "You can either play for us next year, we can try to work on this long-term deal, or you can sit a year out and not play football and not make any money." In all honesty, because what else are the Ravens going to do? Who are they going to go for? Like people throwing this idea.
Well, they did have a Pro Bowl quarterback on the roster.
Shut up. Shut up. No, that's dumb. That's ridiculous. I don't think Lamar's going to go anywhere. I think Baltimore is going to franchise him, and they're going to say you're either playing here or you're not playing next year. The talk of, oh, he might go to Atlanta or he'd love to go to his home team in Miami. He's not going to have the opportunity to go there. And I don't think Lamar's going to sit out because I think he loves football too much. And with the new offensive coordinator, is it Todd Munkin? Munkin?
Yep, from Georgia.
Yep, he's going to have too much to prove as a passer because this is now more of a pass-happy offense that he'll play on a 1-year deal.
Okay, could be. And I like that hire of Todd Munkin.
Mm-hmm.
I think their biggest thing is they got to find some receivers.
Oh boy, do they!
And hopefully, I would like to see Lamar go more under center as well. I think we've talked about it on the show too. Yeah. Is where they can use his leg, get him out on the edge, use him in play action, and really utilize his legs to their strength.
Well, and look what Georgia ran the last 2 years with Stetson Bennett. It could be very many concepts just like that. So this might be exactly what Baltimore needs.
Yep, and I think now, I think that now finishes it up. Carson Wentz, we'll see where he ends up. The Commanders cut him today, freeing up $26 million in cap space. Hopefully, he's able to find a landing spot, whether it's a starter or a backup, which is probably going to be the latter.
I'll say something real quick. Chad Henne retired, so the Chiefs need a backup quarterback.
Ooh.
I think they're going to take a flyer on one of those old Washington guys to be their backup, whether it's Taylor Heineke or Carson Wentz. You come in, I think this is a good 1-year spot to kind of, just like Nick Foles, regenerate your career, learn under Andy, talk with Patrick, be in that locker room. And for some reason, if Patrick goes down for a weird injury or something, with Andy and with those weapons around there, I feel real comfortable with those guys coming in and playing well. So I think for the Chiefs' sake, they're going to have an old Commanders quarterback be their backup next year, whether it's Taylor Heineke or Carson Wentz. I think they get a veteran on a 1-year deal who kind of needs to regenerate his career, and Andy's just the guy for that.
All right, you heard it here first. Carson Wentz or Taylor Heineke are going to be the Chiefs' backup next year. And let's go over to Curveball of the Week. It's supposed to be Ethan's, but since he's on his darkness retreat or doing whatever, I don't think we really want to know.
Let's just say the Appalachian Mountains are a real dark and dirty time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go with that, and I'll take Curveball of the Week, and we'll kick it back to high school. Here, what was your favorite subject in school? What was your favorite class you enjoyed going through the most?
For me, Dylan, this goes back not even high school, but even in elementary school. I'd have to go with U.S. history. I was a big
That's my answer.
I was a big history class kind of guy. Just learning everything about this country, how we settled up upon it, how we got the lands and the states to be the way it is. All the wars we fought, just the transition from government over the years. It's kind of cool. And the best part about history is there's no, it could be this or it could be that. It's one definitive answer. This happened on this day at this time. You can't argue that.
Yes, exactly. That's what I liked. I loved learning about how we got to where we were, learning about World War II, World War One, just different aspects of it. The Civil War, Revolutionary War, Washington crossing the Delaware.
For us in the Midwest,
something that I always just enjoyed listening to and following, and something I still like deep diving into today. Plenty of times I found myself down rabbit holes. Like right now, I'm listening to a podcast about when Kennedy was killed. So
yeah, and those classified documents and all that other stuff. But then that could be a whole different rabbit hole we're going down there.
Yeah, and then like going to museums. Like I think I might be turning into my dad, because I enjoy going there and like learning about different things. Like a couple of years ago when we went to Seattle, we went to the Air and Space Museum, and there they have the plane, the Air Force One plane of Kennedy's, when he was getting carried back to DC after he was killed in Dallas.
Okay.
And it was one of the like most like almost surreal things. Like I'm standing right where LBJ was getting sworn in.
Yeah.
Like this happened. I was there in 18. What happened in what, 63?
63.
So it would have been like 55 years ago, I think. At that time, now it would have been, it's 60 years ago now.
Yeah.
And just to see like the evolution of things throughout the years, as far as technology has advanced, equipment has advanced, all that stuff is just fascinating to me. Like, and then sports history. I wish they would have had classes on sports history, because I would have like gotten an A for sure.
There probably is in one of these institutions across this country. They probably have a U.S. sports history class. Probably the University of Texas. Let's be honest.
Or
North Carolina. Yep. Or Michigan by all means. Stanford would be a good school for that, but they're too smart for that.
Yep.
But yeah, and it just like you said, just learn how this country became the country that it is. That was.
And I think there's so much of it that's been lost, where people don't have respect for the people that came before them, and probably part of why the country is the way it is they just don't understand, and it's more so they don't want they don't like the uncomfortable truths of things.
Well, and those core values that were installed in people 150 years ago are now gone.
Yeah.
Which helped us survive in tents made of buffalo pelts and having meat without refrigeration.
Yeah.
Nowadays, if I go to Starbucks and if someone can't get their double venti caramel espresso coffee drink, they think the world's going to end and they're going to die tomorrow.
Well, that's what beta males and betas drink. If they're alphas like I am, straight black coffee.
I don't drink coffee, so I don't know what the hell I or you are talking about right now.
You would exactly. That maybe you're a beta male too.
I don't know what I am or ain't.
You am or ant?
Am or not? I don't know what I am. I don't know. I just know this.
You're
I'm not a
definitely
coffee
not
drinker.
ant. Terrible life choices, but I'm not gonna completely hold it against
Yeah,
you.
to each their own.
Yeah.
It's
But,
crazy. Actually,
all right. Well,
I know a majority of people in this world that I talk to who actually aren't coffee drinkers.
I feel sorry for them.
Yeah, they're all doing just fine.
Okay, well, fair enough. I'm technically without a coffee pot because mine's shattered on Sunday
And
night or Saturday
why
night.
are coffee drinkers such snobs? Like,
some of them.
yeah, but you're coming off as a pretty big fucking coffee snob right now.
No. My idea of a coffee snob is someone that has to have like all the fancy like oat milk, almond joy milk shit in it, like straight black. It's all. I don't need all the other stuff. I need it to.
But you're
stay awake and function.
you're telling me how you feel bad for their life because they don't drink coffee, and how can you start your day without coffee? It's like that's very snobbish, if you ask me.
No, that's just how I feel. I need coffee to function in the day. You don't.
That's fair.
So, but I think that's it. That's we wrap this show up.
Yep, I'm right there with you, man. That's all I got.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Make sure you follow us on all of our social medias: Facebook, Three Guys Talking Ball Podcast. Make sure you hit that like button. Go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Episode's going to be out every Thursday. The segments will be out on Friday. And then go check us out on our Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at 3GTB Podcast. And that puts a bow on this week's episode. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.